Welcome to the deep dive. So you've brought us some really interesting material today, all focused on what helps students succeed in the classroom.
That's right.
And as we've looked through it, three things really jump out. Teacher clarity, how clear they are, then feedback, and also student self-efficacy, their confidence.
Absolutely. And the goal for this deep dive really is not just to list those factors. We want to connect them, use some established theories to get a better handle on how they actually work together.
Right, how they influence learning, not just that they do.
Exactly. It's about understanding the mechanism for you.
Okay. And the main source we're leaning on here is a pretty recent review article, isn't it?
Yeah, it's toward an organizing theoretical model for teacher clarity, feedback, and self-efficacy in the classroom. It's by Fryer and Lingnecht, published in Educational Psychology Review just last year, 2023.
And it really tries to link these sort of teaching aspects to student success using theoretical frameworks.
It does.
Hmm.
And, for someone like you, interested in getting to the heart of things efficiently, maybe having those aha moments.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, this review offers, I think, a genuinely fresh look. It's taking these familiar ideas, clarity, feedback, self-belief, and framing them in a slightly new way.
Okay, so where do they start? I know they touch on some foundational work first.
They do. They acknowledge Albert Bandura's work, of course.
Yeah.
You can't really talk about self-efficacy without Bandura.
Right, his ideas about belief in our capabilities and that whole model of reciprocal determinism where behavior, environment, thoughts all interact.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Hugely influential, no doubt. But Fryer and Linknecht, they kind of suggest that while Bandura's framework is essential,
Mm-hmm.
it maybe doesn't fully capture everything going on in a formal educational setting. The classroom context is quite specific.
Which makes sense, doesn't it? Classrooms have their own rules, structures, pressures, different from, say, learning a hobby on your own.
Precisely.
Uh,
So the review argues we might need another lens, or perhaps a complementary one.
Okay, so where does that lead us?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. They bring in something called perceived control theory.
Perceived control theory. Okay, unpack that for us a bit. What's the core idea?
Essentially, it's about an individual's belief about how much control they have over the events and outcomes in their life.
Right.
So in education,
Yeah.
that translates to a student's sense of control over their own learning process, their results, their academic journey. Do they feel like their actions matter? Can they influence what happens?
Okay. So it sounds related to self-efficacy. Can I do this task? But maybe broader. Like, am I in the driver's seat of my learning? Is that kind of the feel?
That's a great way to put it. It's a subtle shift in focus, but yeah, potentially broader. And here's a key argument they make.
Yeah.
Fryer and Linknecht suggest that self-efficacy, this thing we know is so important, can actually be understood as a specific type of perceived control,
Ah, okay.
a type that's particularly relevant within the classroom context.
Got it. So self-efficacy fits within this broader idea of perceived control, according to their model.
Exactly. And the main framework they use to tie all this together, clarity, feedback, perceived control, including self-efficacy, is called the self-system model of motivational development.
The self-system model of motivational development.
Okay, SMMD for short, maybe.
SSMMD, yes. Much easier. So how does this SSMMD help us see those connections between the teacher's actions, the student's belief, and ultimately their achievement?
Well, the SSMMD essentially provides the theoretical plumbing, if you like. It shows how things like teacher clarity and feedback can influence student achievement.
Okay.
And critically, it suggests they do this through the lens of perceived control, with self-efficacy being that key classroom-specific form of perceived control.
Right, so it's like a chain reaction. Teacher is clear, gives good feedback that boosts the student's feeling of control, which then strengthens their belief they can succeed on specific tasks, their self-efficacy.
You've got it. The model really highlights how interconnected it all is. Teacher actions aren't just floating out there. They directly impact the student's internal self-system, their sense of control and capability.
Okay, let's break that down a bit more then. Teacher clarity. How exactly does being clear help a student feel more in control and more confident?
Well, think about it. When a teacher gives really clear explanations, sets out expectations very plainly, makes the learning goals obvious,
Yeah.
it kind of demystifies the whole process, right? Students aren't guessing what they're supposed to do or how they'll be judged.
It reduces that uncertainty.
Exactly. Less ambiguity, less uncertainty. That directly enhances their perceived control because they understand the task. They understand the path forward. They know what hitting the target looks like.
I like your furniture analogy from before, trying to build something with bad instructions versus clear ones. With clear steps, you feel you can actually do it. You feel in control.
That's a perfect analogy. And that feeling of control, born from clarity, directly feeds into self-efficacy. If
Hmm.
you understand what's required, you're much more likely to believe you can meet those requirements.
Makes total sense. Okay, so clarity boosts control, which boosts self-efficacy. Now, what about feedback in this SSMMD model?
Right. Feedback. So within this framework, effective feedback is crucial because it gives students information about where they are relative to those clear goals we just talked about.
Uh-huh.
Good feedback isn't just right or wrong. It helps students understand why something worked or didn't, and critically, how they can improve or adjust their approach next time.
So it's informative, not just evaluative. It's guidance.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that guidance aspect is key for perceived control. When feedback shows a student how to get better, how to adjust their
How it
strategy,
empowers them.
yes,
Yeah.
it empowers them. It shows them that their effort, when directed effectively based on the feedback, can lead to improvement. They feel more in control of their learning trajectory.
Like the feedback is a steering wheel, helping them navigate and reinforcing their belief that they can actually drive.
Exactly. Which, again, strengthens their self-efficacy. They see improvement is possible, and they understand how to achieve it.
Okay.
And it's worth just briefly mentioning, although the main article doesn't go super deep on this term itself,
Yeah.
some of the references they cite, like from Carless and Bood, talk about feedback literacy.
Feedback literacy.
Yeah, the student's ability to actually understand feedback, interpret it correctly, and then act on it. Good teacher feedback can actually help develop this literacy in students.
That's interesting. So it's a two-way street. The feedback needs to be good, but the student also needs to be able to sort of process and use it effectively.
Absolutely. It highlights that interaction.
Right.
Now, let's just loop back explicitly to self-efficacy and perceived control within this SSMMD model.
Okay.
So, as we said, the review really positions self-efficacy, that belief in your ability to succeed on a specific task.
Like solving a particular math problem or writing a certain type of essay?
Exactly those kinds of things. It positions that belief as a specific, very important form of perceived control operating within the classroom.
So my confidence in tackling this history question is directly tied to my overall feeling of control in history class.
Yeah, it's the idea within this model, yes. If you feel generally in control of your learning in that subject, you understand the goals, you get useful feedback, you're much more likely to develop strong self-efficacy for the specific tasks within it.
The two are really tightly linked then.
Deeply connected in this framework. That feeling of agency supports the specific belief and capability.
This interconnectedness really feels like the core insight, doesn't it? It's not just listing factors, but seeing how clarity and feedback fuel this sense of control, which in turn builds self-efficacy.
Precisely. And what's really valuable about the Fryer and LinkNet review is that it doesn't just stay theoretical.
Oh.
No, they actually include a pretty detailed table that lays out practical instructional implications, things teachers can actually do.
Ah, that's great. Moving from the why to the how.
Exactly. We probably don't need to go through every single recommendation now, but the main thrust is clear.
Yeah.
Teachers can intentionally boost student self-efficacy and achievement by focusing on strategies that enhance clarity and provide effective feedback, specifically because those things cultivate a stronger sense of perceived control in students.
That's really practical. It tells teachers, focus here on making things clear and giving feedback that guides, because that empowers your students.
Right. It gives them concrete levers to pull.
Uh-huh.
And just to underline how practical and research-focused this is, the review finishes with something they call recipe cards.
Recipe cards. Seriously, what are those?
Yeah, kind of a neat term. They're essentially like mini research plans.
Okay.
They provide really clear, almost step-by-step directions for other researchers who want to test this updated SSMMD model and the connections it proposes.
Oh, I see. Like, here's how you could set up a study to investigate the link between this type of feedback and perceived control.
Exactly that. It's like a blueprint for future research, encouraging others to empirically test and refine these ideas.
That's fantastic. It shows they're not just proposing a theory, but actively paving the way for it to be tested and validated in real classrooms.
Absolutely. Building that evidence base is crucial.
Okay, so to try and wrap this up for you, our listener, the big takeaway seems to be this really strong dynamic link between teacher clarity, feedback, and student self-efficacy.
Yeah.
And this idea of perceived control theory, especially through that SSMMD model, gives us a powerful lens to understand how they connect and why it matters so much for student achievement.
Well said. And practically, it means that by focusing on making the learning path clear and giving feedback that genuinely helps students navigate that path,
Uh-huh.
educators can foster that crucial sense of control. And that increased control directly strengthens students' belief in their own abilities, their self-efficacy.
Which ultimately helps them learn better and achieve more.
Exactly. It's about creating an environment where students feel capable and, importantly, feel like they have agency in their own learning journey.
It really shifts the focus, doesn't it? Beyond just content delivery to empowering the learner.
It does. And maybe a final thought for you to chew on.
Okay.
How might this concept of perceived control play out in other areas of your life where you're learning or trying to grow, not just school?
Interesting.
Think about times you felt really in control of learning a new skill, maybe a hobby, or tackling a complex project. How did that feeling of control affect your confidence, your motivation, your persistence?
That's a great question to reflect on. How does that sense of agency impact us more broadly?
Yeah, something to consider. How might these insights about clarity, feedback, and control inform how you approach your own learning, or even how you support others?
Definitely food for thought. Thanks for diving deep into this with us today.